Hello everyone and welcome back to Arctic Retro. So this is the second episode in my Atari 8-bit series, and in the last episode you saw that I fixed up this beautiful Atari 400. However, in this episode we're gonna take a look at this one. It's an Atari 800 XL. So this is the machine, the Atari 800 XL, and I got it a while back. I just briefly tested that it was working. So I'm gonna clean it up. It's a bit dirty, especially the keyboard. In the episode with the Atari 400, I did some repair and restoration of this Atari 1010 cassette recorder. So we're gonna use that, and yeah. It came with the original power supply, of course, and a couple of cartridges, and something else I want to test is this modern device here, and see if we can load some games and stuff from the SD card adapter that I got here. And to test this machine properly, I'm gonna build this Super Salt Diagnostics cartridge. This video is sponsored by PCBWay, and I recently got a few PCBs from them. These looks very nice, and these are cartridges for Atari machines. There's the Super Salt Diagnostics, and there's another Atari version type of cartridge, and this is for the Atari 2600 games console. If you visit PCBWay.com, you can get an instant quote on very good quality PCBs for affordable prices. And if you have advanced needs for PCB manufacturing, then check out their advanced PCB options at PCBWay.com. Unlike the Atari 400, this machine also comes with a monitor port that has composite video output. It has regular RF output, and yeah, that's the power. And of course it has the SIO port that is the same as the 400, and two joystick ports. Then I'm gonna use this cable for the video. It provides, yeah, not really sure what this cable actually is. It looks a little bit homemade, but it has composite out and audio. The Atari 800 has separate Luma and Chroma video output as well, and yeah, that's probably what this is. Alright, that was a bit of introduction. Now let's just get right to it and hook up the machine and see if it still works. Yes, boots up. Okay, there's something with the keyboard. That was not there when I tested it first time. Maybe some key is stuck. Yeah, there it came. Okay, so that tells me that this keyboard obviously need a little bit of restoration work then. In the Atari 400 video I made this game cartridge. It has two games of 8 kilobytes each, and since the machines are compatible, this should now work in this machine as well. So that's my first test then. Yes, that worked fine then. I haven't connected the joystick yet. Alright then, the machine seems to be working, and now I'm gonna do some cleaning of the whole machine inside out, just to have that done before I do any more extensive testing and demonstration of this machine. So next step now is to take this machine apart, see how it looks inside. Alright, let's take a look at the machine, see if we can open it and take a look at what's inside. Seems to be 6 screws. So let's see, how do we open this? Probably some keyboard cable. It's on that side. Wow. Okay. That's a lot of rust. So let me try and pull up this cable without destroying it. It's kind of bent, so I imagine it can start cracking or crack right now. Well, look at that. So that's quite a lot of actual rust. So yeah, but it's on the RF shielding, so probably no big deal. I'm just gonna remove that. So that will be one of the tasks in this video. And yeah, the motherboard, it has screws coming up. You see, this screw here comes up from the back side. So how do we get this motherboard out? Well, there's a couple of screws there. Gonna remove those. Probably those that are holding the whole motherboard to the case. Let's see now. Okay, yeah, I think it's loose, but it's cramped in the joystick ports, and the back ports are inside the plastic, so you just need to tilt it a little bit and yeah, take it out at an angle. Okay, it's out. So now we should be able to loosen that big cover. No rust on the underside, and there's a bunch of large screws. Yes. Okay, this lifts right up. And then this rusty part. Okay, so there's a little rust, but that should be easy to clean off. Just use a steel brush or something, and then I will use a little bit of WD-40 on that. Maybe I'll paint it, I'll see about that. The motherboard doesn't look too bad. Obviously there's a lot of dust here and dirt, dust balls. Little bit of rust on this metal edge here. Yes. Alright, so time to clean some parts here. I'm gonna start with the motherboard. It should clean up quite easily. Wipe away all the dust and go over it with some IPA. Backside looks very nice. Yeah, a little bit of rust there on the edge there. Here maybe too, not sure. How about the modulator box? It also have a little bit of brownish color, indication of rust. But the inside looks very nice. So it's always nice to see how these boards are made and what of the strange things you can find. For example, here the RAM chips and all the sockets for the RAM are raised a little bit from the board, and then there's a resistor going from each chip to a pin under the socket, it looks like. Then we have a couple of the odd budge wires. That's not unusual to find. All the chips have date codes of 1983, except for this one. It says copyright 1979, Atari. So that might be just a copyright year and not the actual production year, but that was kind of strange. It says over there, it says 84, maybe it's 84 then. That means that this board was produced in maybe 1984. And all the caps look alright, no leaked caps as I can see, and yeah, everything looks to be in good order here. So I'm just gonna blow away some dust, and then I'm gonna clean over the board with some IPA. The motherboard cleaned up nicely. Just gonna have some electronic cleaner into all the contacts. Not really sure if you can get anything into this switch, but just spraying a little bit anyway. Alright, that was the cleaning, and yeah, regarding the chipset on this motherboard, it's kind of similar to the 400. I haven't looked up all the chips, but yeah, this is the PIA chip and this is the CPU, but they are all Atari branded chips. Even the Z80, no, even the 6502 chip is Atari branded. To be able to properly clean up the keyboard, I'm gonna remove it from the case. Also, I'm gonna clean up the case. So can't clean the case in water if there's a keyboard attached to it. So there's 4 screws on this back plate, and a grounding wire goes there. Yay! There's a spring. Oh, I didn't notice there's some washers onto these. Yeah. The top of the case is actually 2 parts. This brown plate, it is screwed to the yellow plate, and I could actually separate it just to have them both cleaned and not risk trapping water in between. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. So now the 2 halves should be separated. Oh, there's some clips like that. Oh, that was a lot of dust coming loose. Yeah, and I'm glad I did this, because you see all the grime that was in between the 2 parts. Okay, this is now going to the sink with some hot soapy water together with the bottom half. Next is the keyboard, and if you remember, it was a little bit stuck when I poured the machine on, and yeah, I think we're gonna remove all the keycaps and actually take off the PCB so I can perhaps clean the membrane. I'm not really sure how this keyboard works, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Keys are quite dirty on the sides. Not a bit, but a lot of UC stuff on the sides. Alright, let's take all these off quickly then. So I just discovered that The keys are in two pieces, one white that goes down and has a little spring. It actually has two springs, one inside the other. So need to be careful here not to lose any of those springs. So this is a keyboard mechanism I haven't seen before, I think, and yeah, spacebar is as usual different. Has this metal support bar. What about these? Yeah, it's the same kind. Okay, look at this mess. That's a lot of dust and dirt. Completely covered. Look. Yuck. So I'm gonna use the vacuum cleaner here. I used the vacuum cleaner and removed the carpet of dust bunnies, but yeah, it's quite dirty. Obviously something has spilled into this keyboard. Something brown. So I'm not really sure if I can manage to pull this further apart. I mean, it's just this plastic frame here on top of the membrane, and yeah, it has a lot of screws on the back, so yeah, why not? Let's remove those screws. It's just about 15 screws, I think. Hopefully then I can clean the whole thing up, but I will probably have to take off all the white parts of the keys. Let's see what happens now. Yep. Yeah, seems like there has been some sort of liquid inside here. And then the keyboard membrane. Kind of dirty in between, looks like. And there we have this whole arrangement here. That was all the springs. Didn't see that coming. Okay, so I'm actually gonna remove all those white bits, and then I can clean this real good. It's difficult to clean off in between here anyway, so yeah, I simply had to do this. Now I know how to assemble all that white parts. I place them back afterwards, and then I put it upside down and put all the springs down. So that was a lot of parts for one keyboard, and not all are willing to come loose. Oops. Lost one spring to the floor. Some of this white plunger was kind of hard to get off, and I actually managed to break off a piece of the outer wall of one of those, so definitely better to grab it by the center piece and pull it straight up. And two of the hooks have, or two of the four pieces down here has a hook, so yeah. And another thing, the spring for the space bar was different than the rest, so I kept it separately. Alright, that was a lot of work, and actually 4 boxes of parts. So now I'm gonna clean everything up. This can be placed into hot water to loosen up all the dirt, and same with the keys and these ones. And I'm gonna clean the membrane, and then I'll be back with a shiny keyboard. Alrighty, the keyboard is now absolutely cleaned up, and I'm just gonna do the reverse operation now and assemble this keyboard again, and that will take some time. Hopefully I did not lose any of these small springs. The metal plate for the keyboard has a couple of rust stains. I scraped away some of them. Here's one. And over here you have some black marks. Just gonna scrape off a little bit, and then I'm just gonna use a little bit of WD-40 onto that. That should help protect it from rusting more. Alright, the keyboard is finished, and hopefully it now works much better than it did. It certainly looks better. So the next thing now is just to remove this rust, and then I think we're finished with the restoration of this Atari. To remove the rust, I just use a steel brush, and I'm gonna go outside to do this, not gonna do it inside. And after that I just put this into a bath of lye or caustic soda. That removed most of the rust. Now there's just some black stains. So now I'm just gonna use WD-40 here to protect it from rusting further. I mean, I hope it will protect it. I have actually never waited that long to actually see the result after many years. So, but the WD-40 works for everything, don't it? I could have painted it, but that's quite a lot of work, so I'm not gonna do that now. I don't have time for that. Going to assemble the machine now, and the case parts came out really nice after cleaning. However, the case is a bit yellowed. Not sure if it's that visible, but a little bit yellowed. You can see the difference between here and here. I'm not gonna do anything with that now. I might just wait until the spring when the sun is back here in the Arctic, because the sun is a good retrobrighter here. See if I can get everything back into its position. Yes. All right, I'll assemble the machine quickly and then I'll be back. So I just wanted to test the keyboard before I actually screw the machine completely back, and yeah, when I turned it on first time, it just output BBB all the time, and I took the keyboard connector out and back into place again, and now there's nothing. So yeah, I need to check a little bit more. Yes, as you can see, it's just pressing B all the time. The actual membrane did look alright, so I'm just gonna measure a little bit on this flat flex. I mean, I can't see any breaks, so, but it might be worn out. I did clean off it with some electronic cleaner. Yes, you can see it from there to there, it's actually 5 ohms. I don't know about these wires, but yeah, down there is 0 ohms. Let's try here to there. Okay, 14 ohms. Oh, 93 ohms on that part, and this is just on the wires, not between any wire. So yeah, might be worn out. Yeah, I tried to clean and also use the fiberglass pen onto the wires, but they seems to be worn out. So yeah, I have this electric paint. I'm gonna try and use that to see if the conductivity gets better. So I haven't really tested this before, but let's see now if it works. It says that it's rated for up to 12 volts, so I'm just gonna use this toothpick and try and smear it over the traces on that flat flex. Probably just the end that needs a little bit extra conductivity. However, I'm not really sure if this is the actual issue. I mean, it could be something wrong with the actual membrane inside the keyboard. I'm gonna let that dry and then we'll see. Just gonna test and see if that paint is actually conductive. So let's measure here. Well, 1.3 mega ohms, that's not promising. Maybe it's better when it's dry, we'll see. The paint has dried. Unfortunately, it does not work. It doesn't conduct at all, so that product is just crap. Come on, it doesn't conduct at all. So yeah, just gonna throw that into the garbage. So my next plan is actually to cut it a little bit short. However, it is almost as short as it can be, so I think I'm gonna try yeah, this much first, see if I can fit it. Just need to scrape off that damn paint, and good thing it doesn't stick very well either, so well, unfortunately it is now too short and it won't fit when the keyboard is in the case. There's no chance of that. So yeah, and also look at this, that didn't solve the problem. So I simply need to find a new membrane for this keyboard. Well, that's perhaps just as well. I managed to start a diagnostics test, and yeah, as you can see, it's B pressed all the time. So yeah, I'll try and see if I can fix that by taking the keyboard off again and see if I can do something around this area with the B. Irritating. Oh, and there goes all the springs. I forgot about those. I marked where the B is, and it's that one, and yeah, so that means that there must be contact between the two pads. So the only thing that separates them is the little plastic layer between. So maybe if I try to put some tape or anything like that and raise the surrounding a little bit. So that's a little bit of tape between. Maybe it will be harder to push the B, but let's see if that fixes it at least. While I'm waiting for a new membrane, I at least want to have this machine usable to some extent, even if the B doesn't work properly. Let's see if that fixes it. Yes, look at that. No more B. And keyboard works. And as expected, the B does not work. Well, at least I can use the machine now without the B. I tried to put the top cover on, but it is simply too short. It is not possible to make it fit. And yeah, just have to leave it that for now until I get a new keyboard membrane. Hopefully I will get it by the time this video is finished, but just gonna continue as it is. The machine looks very nice now that it's cleaned up, and let's test this cartridge just to see that it fits, and I put everything back where it belongs. Yep. This machine actually has a built-in diagnostics test, but it's quite simple. It just tests the RAM and yeah, keyboard. As you saw, you start the diagnostic routine by holding in the option key on the keyboard while you power it on. And then you're presented with this simple menu where you can select the routine you want to run and then press start. So there's a audio test. However, I want to build this Super Salt diagnostics cartridge for this machine instead, and this will work for both the 400 and the 800 machines. And it's quite a simple build. It's 74LS00 chip and a little capacitor and then an EEPROM, and then we have to burn the correct ROM program code to the EEPROM. So let's see if we can find the correct part. I have a socket here. Always a good idea if you're gonna burn an EEPROM. In case you do something wrong when burning, you don't solder in the EEPROM. And we need a 74LS00. The 74 chip I am gonna test if it's working before I solder it in. 7400, testing, chip okay, yes, looks good. And a tiny little 100 nanofarads capacitor. Alright, I'm gonna solder in this quickly now. The cartridge is finished, and by the way, this cartridge I got from PCBWay, their shared project site, and on that site you can find a lot of already made PCBs for a lot of different things made by hobbyists like you and me. And this is for the Commodore 64. It's an Impossible Mission cartridge, can probably be used for other cartridges as well, but yeah, it was made with the Impossible Mission theme. The Supersalt cartridge was actually made by Atari all the way back in 1984, and this is the technical user's manual for it. I found this alongside with the necessary binary file for the ROM on the actual cartridge site on PCBWay. There's a download link there going to archive.org, so yeah, you get everything you need there. And here's the files. There's different versions. There's the Salt, and those are 8 kilobyte cartridges, and then there's the Super Salt. So I guess we'll try one of these. I'm not sure about the difference between this SE02 or the CPS ROM, but inside there's different binary files, so you can burn it directly, and it's already packaged into different ROM sizes depending on what you have. Alright, let's burn this now. I have a 27C128 EEPROM. That's 16K. I'm gonna burn the SE version. Maybe it stands for second edition, I'm not really sure. I'm selecting that, and then program. Yeah, seems to work. Verifying programming succeeded. That took like 3 or 4 seconds. Place it into the socket. It has a bit wide pins. Just gonna squeeze them a bit to straighten them. The notch is on that side, so it goes in like that. Yep. Then it's a good idea to actually close that little window so that no UV light enters the chip. However, in order for it to be erased with natural light, it will take several years, I'm sure, but still like to do it. Okay, let's test. It's supposed to go with the chip backwards, so be aware of that. So let's see what we get. Alright, we're in. By the way, if you have a 16 kilobyte EEPROM 128, then you actually don't need this 7400 chip. In that case, you can just there's 2 solder points there, you can just bridge them together. However, this is in fact a more generic cartridge, so you can use it for games and stuff like that also if you want to do that. So here's the Atari 600-800 Supersalt system test, 1983 type question mark for help. So RAM 32K, TIA PAL, Rev B, port test, RAM test, AnyVideo, collision, gray color, tone test, production. Let's try ITIA. So it seems to have a lot of different diagnostics tests. Pass. You just type the letter, first letter on the word, and then hit return. RAM test. Yeah, that completed with a pass. The port test failed, but I guess you need some kind of testing equipment then, like the test harness that I use on the Commodore 64. Impact test. So it says here Atari 600/832K, and this is an XL, so it should have 64 kilobytes of RAM. So maybe I'm gonna try the other version of the ROM instead. I just burnt the other edition or version. I'm just gonna change the EEPROM. So this is what's called the SuperSoul CPS. Yeah, that looks more like it. This is for XL. Press break for menu. Performance test. Okay, let's try the performance test. 65/2 test. Okay, so this seems to be quite an extensive diagnostics test. Alright, I tried most of the diagnostics tests here, and there's a lot of different things, and yeah, the machine seems to perform just fine, no issues except for the tests that need hardware. Okay, I think that's enough with testing, and now I thought we'll try and load some games, and I'm gonna try this one. It's a device that lets you load programs from SD card onto the machine via the SIO port. And this device is called SIO to SD, and I bought this from lotarec.pl, a Polish website. Here I have prepared a SD card with some games, so let's see what we get, and inserted the cable into the SIO port, and this is being powered by the machine, so let's see. This is the first time I try this. Okay, it says no partition. Alright, so this was formatted in Windows on exFAT. I don't know if that's supported. I'll check it out. Maybe I need to use FAT32 and have a smaller partition. Alright, seems you can only use FAT32, and that means you can have a maximum 32 gigabyte partitions. This had a 64 gigabyte partition, so I made a smaller partition and formatted it as FAT32 in Windows. And then you need to place all the files inside a folder on the root called Atari. So let's see now. Yes, now it works. D1 off. And there it shows the files. Bruce Lee ATX. So now we just need to navigate with these buttons here to mount the drive. So I didn't mention it, but this simulates disk drives, and it handles up to 16 drives. You can upgrade the firmware if you place a firmware file on the memory card. Not gonna do that now. You use the second button to shift between the files. So it seems like this device handles only ATR file or XDF or COM.XEX file types. So this is an ATX file. Let's see now if I find, I think there should be an ATR file here. Yeah, Jumpman is ATR, and now I pushed the third button to select Jumpman as drive 1. So that selection should now have been stored onto this, and if we restart the machine, it should boot from drive 1. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. Okay, Please remove all cartridges. So that works. So I'm not that familiar how to use Atari with a floppy disk drive, but yeah, it says remove all cartridges, but I don't have a cartridge in. And yeah, I tried another game as well and it said the same. So I just had to Google a bit, and apparently you need to hold down the options key when you start the machine. So I'm doing that now. Let's see if that helps. Yeah, no, it seems to load. It actually shows here loading the different blocks. All right, there you go. Jumpman. I think we'll try intermediate. I always love the Jumpman game on the Commodore 64. So I've connected the joystick. Yeah, it works. Okay, I always die pretty quickly nowadays. Okay, so let's try another game. Just gonna select something else. Dig Dug. And then we just restart the machine. So this is a so-called XEX file. Yeah, alright. I actually downloaded a big file. I think it has most of the Atari 800 or Atari games ever made in that big zip file. There's everything. So it doesn't tell you what to do. Press start. Yeah, okay, this is the familiar Dig Dug. Next one is Mule. Alright, Ozark Softscape. That's the familiar music. Now I couldn't figure out how to start that game, in fact. Let's try Raid over Moscow. That's a well-known Commodore 64 game. Annoying loading sound. Okay. Let's see now. Beginner. It's a long time since I played Raid over Moscow. Okay. I think we're supposed to go out there. Okay, I think that's enough with playing games. I'm gonna enjoy some games on this machine sometime later. Anyway, this device worked amazingly. As long as you have the correct file format on your games, then this works just amazing. So I finally got the keyboard membrane here, and it took its time, and yeah, I found it on eBay. There wasn't many sellers of this, but I found one for 29.90 euros, and with shipping it became 44 euros, so quite expensive for a relatively simple keyboard membrane, but of course I understand they need to make some money on this. Let's insert this one, see if it works. So here's the old broken membrane, and there's these plastic guides, so it's easy to place it correctly, and yeah, just gonna remove that and try to get the new one in place. I think it will be like this. Yeah, those plastic guides. Just gonna check that it is correct. Yes, it is. And then this plastic layer here goes over, but that was not correct. I think this is the correct way. Or this, yeah, the space bar has this hole here, and now everything is aligned. Now it's just a matter of folding this over. Yeah, just check that everything aligns up, and I think it does. It's a little 1 millimeter difference between the pads on the top layer and the bottom, but if you follow the plastic guide, then it goes like this. Try to get this correctly. Oh, it's that way. Yeah, the plastic spikes comes up there, and now it's correctly inserted. Then all the small screws. Then we have the side keys, and they are separately attached. They have a couple of guides as well, so I just need to find the correct spot, and I can't turn it around because then the springs will get out. Maybe I'll have to do it anyway, just to take a look. Yeah, it's supposed to bend down and then should be aligned with the holes, but actually that seems to not fit very well. No, this was a little bit difficult, of course. You think a simple task is simple, but that's not always the truth. Just try and push them in the direction and get them into the holes. Yeah. Now this just stands up a little bit, but I think that's not a problem. Then hold it down and try to get the screws in. All right, we made it, I think. Let's test it in the machine. And on this side we had this ground wire. Okay, it's in. Then we have the motherboard and the connector, and yeah, this seems to be a little bit longer than the old one, so just need to lay it down so that I can use 2 hands. It's a little bit tight. Yeah, there it's in. Good. Okay, let's see now. Oh no, it's typing a comma, but seems to be working otherwise. Okay, now it works. Comma, yeah. Maybe it was just a little bit pushed down, and when I pushed the keys, it starts working. Gonna try once more. Yes, it works. Gonna test all the keys. Okay, the keyboard works just fine now. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's always a good thing, to have something new in an old machine. That makes it last a little bit longer, and we can throw away the old keyboard membrane. I have assembled the machine, and it looks great now. Alright, that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. So I have now fixed up my Atari 800 XL. The next of the 3 machines is the Atari XE system, which I'm gonna take a look at next. So thanks a lot for watching, and special thanks goes to my Patreons. See you next time. Bye bye.